Graeme, thank you. I know this is a bit of a mission trying to make sense of all this because it's one of those sort of tempests of allegation, isn't it?
It is, and there are a lot of allegations, some of which have already been investigated to an extent by various people like the Electoral Commission.
All right,
there
Graeme.
were complaints
How
earlier,
serious?
and the Electoral Commission looked at them and they said, no, we did not employ anyone who was working for Te Pāti Māori as a person at the voting place, for example.
Right.
That's one of the allegations around this, and the Electoral Commission says we've looked into that, and it's not the case.
All right. What then is outstanding, Graeme, and how serious is all this?
Like, a lot of it sounds bad, but I'm a fair bit of my work is criminal law. And so when I think of serious, I think of, is there something here that if the MP was involved would mean they would lose their seat or that someone could go to prison? And very few of the allegations are of that type.
Yeah.
And so the breach of, the privacy of the statistics, from the census or even from
COVID data?
The health stuff, those are, someone sues under the Privacy Act, and if they win, they get some money.
Right.
And there are some criminal offences in what is now the Data and Statistics Act.
Yeah.
And the maximum penalty for those is $5,000 fine for individual and $15,000 fine for a a body corporate, so the Mariah or something like that. They're not imprisonable offences. Someone could be prosecuted, be bad, but not nearly serious enough that even if it was the MP involved would lose their seat, because you can't possibly go to prison for these offences. They are fine-only offences. I don't think there are any imprisonable offences in the Data and Statistics Act. And so while they are bad, you could see why you wouldn't want to do them, and you could see sort of technical consequences if they were found to be proved. What would that mean for the Whānau Water Commissioning Agency, which is just sort of a private company essentially, operated by Waipareta Trust? It might make it more difficult for them to get certain government contracts or things like that, which is, sort of consequential for the work they do, and someone else might have to do some of it, and government agencies might stop contracting with them, but not for the most part, we are not, few of the allegations are of serious criminal offending. They are serious civil allegations around breach of privacy, but from what I can see, the only one, and that's sort of been repeated from you earlier in the year, that looks like a criminal allegation, is the allegation of treating. That is, there were food parcels provided by one of the groups involved that included leaflets that were either for the candidate or the party. And that's potentially an allegation of treating, which is of the serious type. That
and that's the one thing, interestingly enough, Graeme, that that's the one thing interesting enough that John Tamahiri doesn't seem to be contesting. He says, well, that's our tikanga, that's our custom, and we stand by our right to do that, which is kind of interesting.
To an extent, at least, that's one thing I think the Electoral Commission has looked at, and that's one thing they declined to refer to the police, because the offence of treating is committed, and you have to prove there was a corrupt intention while that person was acting and providing the food, and that's a very high standard. And so the Electoral Commission has not referred that. They have referred, there are a couple of text messages at least that did not have the promoter state, who's responsible for this, sending this election-related advertisement. And that, I think, is what has been referred to the police. There have been a few other of those. If you find out who was responsible for that, you can certainly prosecute them. Maximum of a $40,000 fine, I think, possibly $100,000. Well, no, I don't think. Anyway, I think maximum of a $40,000 fine on this one. But again, not possible to have prison. If you're getting into other sort of criminal consequences, you're going a little out there. So let's say some of the privacy.
This is classic, though, Graeme. This is how a scandal works. It's almost as if the sum of the noise is greater than its parts. Do you get what I mean?
Yes, yeah, and I think it could, be very consequential. Like if there's any truth to some of this, privacy breaches can be serious and can involve a lot of money in solving them. But the real consequences are in, how the government and everyone else starts treating this agency if any of these turn out to be true, particularly around breach of privacy of the census data or of the medical information around the I don't know, medical information is probably the wrong word. Personal information around the COVID. If those are true, then does the Waipiro Trust suddenly stop getting government contracts?
Yeah. Graeme, the other thing is if the result of the Tamaki Makaurau election were to be overturned, and it was only 42 votes, and the suggestion's been made, it can't be overturned?
No.
Oh, okay. Now, this is, I wouldn't get into this.
There is a process to challenge the election result for either there was a problem with the voting process or a problem with the counting, or there were corrupt actions on behalf of a candidate, by a candidate. You have 28 days after the formal announcement of the election result to file one of those challenges. That 28 days has passed. So
the boat sailed, Graeme. Because I think we had David Seymour saying yesterday
still possibilities.
The Māori Party created the overhang with their sweep of the Māori seat.